Hello to all fans of Naruto Lemon. I will post all Naruto Lemon Yaoi, Yuri, or Naruto Lemon stories only on the Boosty channel because Uncle YouTube condemns this. Therefore, I invite everyone who wants Naruto Lemon content to my Boosty channel. Good luck.
お前はどこまで見えている。俺の死に様か。
The cold wind was soothing in a very sad fashion. The small figure hiding behind a large tree somehow enjoyed the gentle, though cool touch on her skin. Since she never had the privilege to be touched by warm fingers, skin to skin, she preferred it this way. Better than feeling all alone. The truth was so frightening that she even imagined the wind being her friend. It always had been. It was there, although you couldn't see it, and if in need, it was helping her. She often thought about being able to fly. To cross the sky when it was as blue as her eyes. Maybe on a beautiful day, such as yesterday. She was overwhelmed by deep sadness. If she flew away, she would have been able to escape the pain. But she wasn't. The villagers were so strong, she couldn't hope for ever escaping this living. Unable to protect herself, she was left to the moods of the people around her. She often wished she would be as skilled as the strong jounin she watched from afar, when they were teaching the graduated academy students. Those were mocking and complaining, and she got angry at them for not recognizing the gift to learn and grow. She would give anything she had, though not much, to have only once the chance of going to the training grounds with her sensei and talk about different ways to throw a kunai. Lost in her thoughts, she didn't hear the small group of men walking past her tree. If it isn't the demon girl, one spat out. In mere seconds she was on alert, but it was too late. She felt the grip of a large hand tighten around her neck. One of the men seemed to be a shinobi, she thought, judging his swift movements. She was now pressed against the stem of the tree and gasping for air. "Let's show her what she's worth," one guy with a hard-looking face offered. The man holding her thought about it for a few seconds and then threw her aside like trash. She didn't make a noise, even as the roots from other trees made her back ache. She knew her only hope was for them to lose interest in her, and that happened faster when she didn't show her suffer. As predicted, they left after calling her the worst names and insulting her. She sighed, got up from the ground and then ran away from the place. Tears welled up and soon she stumbled almost blind through the small forest in the park of Konohagakure. She ran and ran, fell down, got up again and colliding with a tree she didn't see. Pain was all around her and with it the anger aroused. After a while she began to calm down. When she reached the end of the forest her mind was free from hate again. Not looking where she was going, she tripped over a larger stone and fell right onto one of the pathways covered with gravel, which was leading through the center of the park. Rolling on the way she cursed under her breath and tried to get up once again. Weakened from exhaustion and fear she struggled and almost fell on her bare knees again. A strong hand gripped her arm and pulled her up. She shrieked and freed herself as fast as she backed off. Knowing she was already too weak, she just ducked and waited for the pain. The Sandaime Hokage was shocked. The little girl was afraid about losing his life. He hadn't seen such fear for a long time. And he just helped her up. Then he recognized her and his gaze dropped to the ground, ashamed. He already understood what must have happened. "Naruto, please wait," he said as she attempted to flee again. Surprised by the quiet and soothing sound of his voice, she turned round and watched him carefully. Another shiver went down his spine when he saw the hunted look in the cerulean eyes of the daughter of his dead successor. She was wild, scared and scarred. Not a child of 4 years as she should have been, but an abandoned orphan that carried the pain of more than one life. Slowly he got closer to her, careful not to make hasty movements. He felt like he was trying to calm a wild mustang. Naruto backed away a bit, but after a while she didn't try to offend herself. The old man placed a hand on her golden locks. Then he kneeled down to be on eye level with her. "What happened, Naruto?" Suddenly she started crying and he gently embraced her. She sobbed into his Hokage robe. It was a heart-wrenching sound. After a while the Hokage began to become desperate. The girl wasn't stopping. It was like she was crying about the last 4 years. Just what can I do to help you? All of a sudden Naruto went quiet. An unnatural silence fell over the empty park, only the leaves carried in the wind made a rustling sound. Very slowly Naruto lifted her wet face. The strains of the tears were clearly reflecting the silvery moonlight. Her eyes were steady and calm, same as her voice. Make me stronger. 11 years later. Her memory from this day was still as clear as glass, though more than a decade had passed by. She remembered the pain, the grief and the sadness, but she also recalled the hope she got that night. With his smile, the Hokage assured her a new perspective. Of course he was hesitating at first, but after he looked into her lost eyes for more than 3 minutes he stretched out his arm and offered her his hand, which she gladly took. When the first light crept over the horizon, the two of them arrived at the ANBU headquarters. One man came out and started talking to the old leader, after he gave Naruto an examining look. After a while they were arguing or, better said, the man with the dog mask was almost shouting at the Hokage. It's impossible, he said. That girl, she has no future in ANBU. She's 4 and she's a girl. She doesn't have a chance. He ran a gloved hand through his spiky, silver hair. It would also create a huge amount of trouble if she stays here. She won't be accepted, it's dangerous. The white-haired man was completely calm. He straightened his hat to show his rank and then spoke to the other one in a quiet and serious tone, so Naruto didn't understand anything. The effort was showing results. Whatever he said to the elite ninja was very effective, because he walked towards her and kneeled down. Unsure she stared into the deeps of the dark holes, where she presumed his eyes were. Oh, Uzumaki Naruto-san. I'm dog. I'll show you your room now, we'll send someone to get your stuff, alright? She nodded and followed the stranger inside the large complex. She was introduced to the gray building with the straight and strong forms it showed from the outside. Everything was huge with neutral concrete, but when you stepped through the glass doors, it was easy to realize that you hadn't yet explored the true character of the HQ. The facility was built in a square form and in the center there was a big inner courtyard, enclosed by glass walls. Everything was friendly and the sun was reflecting in the shining glass. The contrast towards the outside look was great. The courtyard included a small park with trees and a lake. It offered pathways that guided one through a soul-soothing and relaxing area. The lawn was taken care of very well, its bright green color and the refreshing highlights of beds of flowers were beautiful and showing such a drastic difference to the cruel, blood-stained world outside. It should give the ANBU a bit of peace when they returned from missions full of death and pain. The rooms were very light-colored as well as the lounges and dining halls. All of the small apartments offered a nice view of the yard, not the street. The walls were painted green, yellow, everything in light shades. The furniture was made of a light wood and was comfortable and creating a homey atmosphere. The bed was soft, there was a sofa, enough space in the closets and the floor was covered with carpet in the living room. The bathroom was white and blue, tiled, so it was easy to clean. That was important, because the ANBU were often covered with dirt and blood after missions. Each room became its own personal note by every ANBU, since it was one of the rare places where they could express themselves. In the last 11 years Naruto's room got very beautiful just as she herself. Her sky blue eyes got a bit darker, her whisker marks started to fade as soon as her life had begun to settle and calm a bit. The hair was almost waist long and also a shade darker, not the stunning light blonde anymore, but a rich gold. She was still not tall, her body was tiny and fragile looking. The first 4 years of her life, when she got fewer nutrients than she should have. Those times had their effects on her. Living in fear every day, hunger and humiliation being your companion, one must think a girl would break on something like this, but it just added to her will of life, something that saved her often enough. It was that will that made her come back from every mission, survive each injury and overcome all difficulties. It helped her to climb up the ranks and make it ANBU with 13 years. Now she was on the step of becoming captain of a 4-man squad. She knew the council didn't think her capable nor suitable for such a job, But since the ANBU were under the direct order of the Hokage, Naruto had a slight chance of success. She was the perfect ANBU, after all the Hokage himself trained her a lot. At the age of 11 she was already jonin, doing A-rank missions as a daily routine. She was polite, when the situation requested it, and someone who respected orders from higher ranks. She gained respect from others, being efficient and reliable. After a while the distance everyone had in the HQ was fading away. They were nice and Naruto made good friends, because of her friendly and easy way. She learned the truth about Kyuubi sealed in her at 6 and handled it. She understood the villagers' fears and got to love Konoha despite their actions. Right now she was standing in the Hokage's office, patiently watching the old man signing some forms. After a few minutes he looked up seeing her relaxed and in center. His thoughts trailed through the last years with her, years of training and working. Those years contented also a lot of grief. He had to kill his former student, Orochimaru, who started horrible experiments with humans, and the village had been on the edge of a civil war because of the Uchiha clan. It tore him apart when he had to order the execution of some Uchiha shinobi to save the peace. After those actions the village was very unstable, and even a year after it. Up until now the mistrust was very much tough. Their new leader Uchiha Itachi was fighting for respect outside and loyalty inside the clan. The council demanded their bloodline limit to be sealed to their control. As if their pride would ever allow that. The old man sighed. The elders were as stubborn as the new generation, why wouldn't they see that? Naruto, I have a very important mission for you. It includes a diplomatic act with Sand. Naruto lifted an eyebrow. You're sending Konoha shinobi to Tsunagakure? That's a suicide mission. The old man exhaled deeply. Indeed, our relationship with them isn't the best. The blonde snorted. Alright, it's horrible, I admit. But the Kazekage sent a few letters recently which let me hope for a more peaceful future. Don't mind an old man believing the best in each person. I know you think that's naive, but the time for forgiveness has come. Yeah, it is. The Kazekage isn't a peaceful man, Hokage-sama. He sealed Shikaku inside his own son, just for power. Not to protect the village like Yondaime did. This is different. You're right. The issue about Sabaku no Gaara is a very serious problem, especially since the rumors spreading that he is trying to get rid of him. She gasped, shocked. It was a very important matter to her as she was a Jinchuriki herself and understood the suffering everyone of her kind must have been through. The case of Gaara was even more touching than the others. His own father. Well, Kyuubi was sealed into her body by her own blood as well, but she considered it a different story, because it was a decision out of love and trust, not just the desire of power. That was disgusting, leaving his child to such a sad and lonely fate, making it a tool. You'll travel as a Jounin, not as ANBU, even though this is an S-class mission. The words yanked her out of her thoughts. No ANBU, no mask. She already missed being able to hide her expression behind the white porcelain. I presume I'll go alone? She asked just to make sure. No, there'll be a 3-man squad accompanying you. Naruto needed to stop herself from groaning. Ranks? A Jounin, 2 Chunin. Now she could barely hold back. Who? Anyone I know? Kind of. A familiar voice came from the window. On the rooftop stood a certain silver-haired man reading an orange book. Some things never change, Naruto thought, as he climbed inside. Inu, no, Kakashi-senpai, long time no see. A smile broke off. Naruto wasn't a moody or angry person, but a real smile was rare. So both men were looking for their composure for a bit. It was stunning. Yeah, well, I've been busy with a Genin team after I quit ANBU. They sure need a lot of attention, who know what they'd do without me. Naruto snickered. Heard, you got the Uchiha clan leader's younger brother and one of his fangirls. Wait, who was the third one? There wasn't one, the graduating class had the wrong number of students. And since Sasuke and Sakura are very skilled and I'm former ANBU, they made us 3 a complete team. Now and then we got some chinin filling in for higher ranked missions, but we get by. Sounds like you found a new family. Both lingered in nostalgia when the Hokage cleared his throat. He handed both a green mission scroll and Naruto a diplomatic letter scroll for the Kazekage. Continue talking when you're outside. Mission start is tomorrow 7 a.m. You're dismissed. Both bowed to their leader and left the office. Naruto put her wolf mask back on as they walked down the halls. She had decided against the fox mask because she wasn't the demon. Being Okami was much better. So tell me about your team. They're fortunate having you as their sensei. We all missed you a lot when you left the HQ. The faint scent of bitterness hung in the air. Kakashi's one visible eye smiled. When I got to know them first, I was almost turning on my heels to return to ANBU. But I knew I couldn't show up there. You'd be horribly disappointed. It was you who told me to never give up. Anyway, Sasuke has a pride larger than the whole Yukiya compound and more fragile than his questionable haircut. And Sakura is head over heels for him. I really didn't know what to do with her at the start. She wouldn't even really listen to me until she woke up from her pink world. He chuckled in memory of the two 11-year-olds that once were so childish and easy to impress. I really missed someone like you in my team. She's a medicine now and she's very good. Both were silent for a while. Compared to you at that age, they seemed like toddlers. Not everyone has lived my life and not everyone's made for ANBU. It was my place, the academy was theirs. They slipped into their thoughts once again. In silent agreement they headed for the memorial stone. When they arrived at the oddly shaped stone, where lots of names were carved into, both gazes lingered on the name of the Yondaime Hokage and they spoke their silent prayers. When they walked away the tension lifted again. So you missed by your side, Naruto-chan? Kakashi started to tease his friend. I missed you watching my back. She answered seriously. It hadn't been easy to give her trust to strangers. I missed you watching mine as well. You're a reliable partner. Come on, I'll treat you ramen. Everyone of Team 7 arrived perfectly on time the next morning, even Kakashi since this was a serious mission. When he arrived half an hour too early his two students were already there, but Naruto was nowhere in sight. Kakashi-sensei, you're early. The pink-haired kunoichi waved at her teacher, obviously surprised. The raven-haired boy standing next to her wasn't as enthusiastic, but the questioning look was on his face as well. Well, this is very important, as you read in the scroll I gave you. I'm just surprised that our fourth member isn't here yet. Can you tell us something about this shinobi we are going to team up with? Some details maybe? Sakura was the one asking, but Sasuke was curious as well. Kakashi sighed, he had expected that. A jounin called Naruto Uzumaki, a lost 16 years old, a skilled wind-style user and pretty fast. Good to work with. Sasuke looked interested. The wind element was very rare in Konoha. How long is he jounin? We didn't get someone who was just promoted, didn't we? He wasn't very polite, he knew that, but Sasuke hated working with unreliable and incompetent shinobi. I'm doing this job for nearly 5 years, does that salve your conscience? And by the way, I'm a girl, Yukiya-san. They all turned to the voice that suddenly interrupted their conversation. Kakashi snickered quietly although he was a bit surprised, he didn't sense her. But he should have known that Naruto would watch the team secretly to get an idea of what was awaiting her before the mission started. Sasuke was shocked like Sakura seeing a girl sitting in a tree close to them and listened to their conversation, but regained his composure fast, and started complaining. We get another girl? No way. He said angrily. Meanwhile Naruto got up from the knob and jumped down gracefully. Look at her, Kakashi-sensei, I don't think she'll be useful on this mission. His teacher flinched. Mistake, Sasuke, he thought. What are you doing judging people by their or outward appearance? Being in Yukiya doesn't mean everyone else needs this as well. Would you please come down from your high horse? Naruto sighed unnerved. Such an arrogant person. Sakura's mouth hand open. How dare you to insult Sasuke-kun? She said, already knowing she was wrong. Naruto just shot her a pitying look. What's with those, senpai? She asked Kakashi. I would have guessed that your first lesson would be to look underneath the underneath, and here they are, judging me at first sight. She shook her head, golden streaks flying everywhere. We need to leave, it's almost 7 o'clock. She added quietly and walked through the gate, respectfully greeted by the guards Kotetsu and Izumo. Kakashi turned to his students. Great, you too. Showing your incompetence after only 5 seconds. Then he followed Naruto, who was already choosing a quick pace. Their first stop was after 3 hours running non-stop at a small river. Sasuke and Sakura were exhausted to no end. The speed Naruto and their sensei picked was impressive. That they could easily talk and laugh when they jumped from tree to tree, while the two Chunin were desperately focusing on being able to follow. Right now they both leaned against a tree watching Naruto stretching at the riverside and Kakashi sitting near her in the grass. Sasuke had to admit that he underestimated the tiny girl. She was fast. And her stamina was huge. She must have been trained for those situations. Long runs in a small amount of time. Kakashi was, this the Chunin knew. He was a former ANBU, the elite of the village. But Naruto was just a jounin, right? They're doing good. Kakashi lifted an eyebrow. He was surprised at the sudden statement of his blonde-haired teammate. They do? He asked. Yes, I think so. For Chunin, they're pretty good. Nevertheless, we need to slow down or they'll be dead tomorrow. Sakura already ate 2 soldier pills. We'll need them later. Kakashi watched her from the side, as she retied the bandages around her wrists. She wasn't wearing her ANBU armor, that would have been too obvious. Instead, she picked a uniform similar to Sakura's. Tight black pants and the hard apron in a neutral gray. Her shirt was gray as well, just much darker and with red and orange flames at the lower border. Her left sleeve was long, but the right one was almost bare, just the bandages covered the skin. Kakashi noted that her upper arm was wrapped as well, and he knew that must be her ANBU tattoo. She also tied her hitayate there. He noticed her not wearing a jounin vest, there was just a sword strapped on her back, long and slim. As far as he knew, she was very skilled with it. In combination with her futon, it was murderous. He couldn't see where she was hiding other weapons next to those in the weapon pouch around her thigh, but he was sure there were more. Off to somewhere else, senpai? We should get going again. He looked up to her smiling face. Yeah, I'll come. Why don't you get the other 2 ready? He watched going over to the tree his students were sitting by. Naruto kneeled down next to them and talked to them. Suddenly the picture was strangely common. It seemed they'd been a team for a very long time. Hey guys, mind if I sit next to you? She asked, as she got closer to the 2 Chunin. No, of course not, Uzumaki-san. Sakura said friendly, while Sasuke didn't bother to reply. Drop that please, for you it's Naruto. Thanks, I'm Sakura. We didn't have the chance to introduce us properly earlier. I apologize for my behavior, too. It wasn't right. Naruto made herself comfortable on the ground and shook her head. It's alright, maybe I also overreacted a bit. But tell me, how do you feel? You look pretty exhausted, both of you. I agree, for my part. The speed was enormous. We're going to travel a bit slower, now. It isn't healthy to eat one soldier pill after another. As a medic nin you should know. Sakura agreed, and they kept on talking a bit about this and that. Naruto learned that Sakura was a very nice person. Working with her would be easy. Sasuke was much more difficult. He didn't really talk, and when he did, his favorite words were HN and whatever. Naruto liked talking. She could shut up, but if it wasn't required, she appreciated a good conversation. The following 2 days were very relaxing, although the pressure grew the closer they got to the sand. Naruto liked the friendly atmosphere. When they arrived at the border, the Chunin were visibly tensing up. Naruto was a bit nervous herself but knew to hide it well, as she was trained for. They decided Kakashi should perform the leader of the squad although Naruto was higher ranked. It would seem odd to Sasuke and Sakura if Naruto took the lead. So Kakashi stepped to the front of their formation and bowed to the man waiting for them. Hatake Kakashi, this is Uzumaki Naruto, Haruno Sakura, and Yukiya Sasuke. We're the delegation from Konoha. The man shot all of them an interested look. He wore the usual gray vest, which labeled him a higher-ranked shinobi. I'm Sanucho Koga. Please follow me, I'll take you to the Kazekage. All of them were amazed by the uncommon architecture of Sunagakure while they walked through the streets towards the huge building, shaped as a ball. They were guided through various floors until they stood in front of a heavy wooden door. Koga turned around to face them. Due to safety, only one person can go inside and see the Kazekage. I presume that would be you, Hatake-san? Kakashi glanced at Naruto. No, I'll go, she said and stepped forward. All of them were surprised except for the silver-haired Jounin, who nodded. She's the diplomat. My team's just traveling with her, he said and answered unsaid questions. Okay then, Uzumaki-san, this way please. The man guided her through the door into the office. Why is she going? You should've. You worried, Sasuke? Kakashi asked. No, I just wondered. I know what you want to say. The point is, we don't know what'll happen. So we decided that I'll stay with you. He didn't say that she was the leader of the mission, so she had to do the talking. Both looked at him. What about Naruto? Sakura asked worried. She got to like the blonde-haired kunoichi in the last few days. Don't worry about her. She'll get out, no matter what. She's one of the best. Sasuke's eyes narrowed when he recognized the pride in his voice. You know her well, don't you? He asked. When I was in ANBU, I also fulfilled missions as a Jounin, and we were on the same squad often. It's a pity she went out of my view since I quit and took a genin team. When Naruto stepped through the door of the office she only needed a second to see everything. The Kazekage sat behind his heavy desk, the hat lying next to some scrolls and an ink pot. Next to him stood a large man with a cloth covering half of his face and 2 red streaks on the other one. He wore the standard vest, too, and seemed to be the advisor of the leader. In a corner, leaning against the wall, was a boy about her age with red hair and a tattoo on his forehead, what meant love. Naruto thought it strange, because his face was grim and hateful. It must be the Kazekage's son, she realized, comparing their hair color. Gaara, she remembered his name. She bowed to all of them and started with the polite talk she came for. Kazekage-sama, it's a pleasure to meet you in peace. I send you the regards of my Hokage, who was delighted by your letters and the offers you made. At the sound of her soft voice, Gaara looked up. Something was fascinating about her, he decided in the very first second. He began to watch her, while she exchanged a few casual words with his father. She had a very friendly attitude, though calculated. To his surprise, the Kazekage mostly agreed with her. All of a sudden his sensitive ears noted some ticking. She tensed up at the same time and hurriedly looked around. Then she spotted a few small bugs with seals on their backs. Bombs. She acted in mere seconds. She turned around and kicked the door open and gripped the Kazekage and his advisor Baki, as she learned, by their collar and dragged them outside. Then she got back and ran to Gaara, who wasn't moving. Gaara-san, please get out, here are bombs. He just looked at her, slightly amused. Why should I? He asked. She understood and turned on her heels. He had protection, there was no use running away, when his infamous sand could rescue him. But she hadn't such a shield, she thought as she headed for the door. Naruto. Let's dash. Kakashi stood in the door when she heard the first sparks fly long before a normal human ear would have. She decided foolish, she knew, but deep inside she knew she had to. Incredibly fast she jumped forward and sent chakra into her palms, using her futon to throw her senpai a few yards down the hall away from the door and then closed the door from the inside to shield the building, where lots of innocent people were in, from the explosion. When she turned around to see flames coming for her, she also looked straight into Gaara's, to see them wide open in sudden realization. Naruto! Kakashi yelled when the door closed and burst open again from the explosion almost the same second. Everywhere was dust and the world seemed absolutely quiet for a minute. Thrown off his feet by the shockwave, he tried to get up, glad for the support Sasuke and Sakura gave him. Kakashi-sensei, what happened? The Jounin shook his head, partly as an answer, partly to get rid of his headache. I don't really know. There seemed to be bombs inside the office and Naruto took the Kazekage and his advisor out. He glanced to the right where the leader was surrounded by a few medic nins and other shinobi. Well, she turned back to another guy, who was standing in a corner, not moving. She talked to him but left without him. Then she saw me standing in the door, she seemed to hear something. She pushed me back and closed the door from the inside. I don't know if she is alright. He noted his fingers trembling and tried walking to the door once again. The air started to clear and inside the office the destruction was visible. Furniture was shattered and the walls were half broken. The scent of gunpowder and burnt flesh lingered in the air. Carefully Kakashi stepped into the destroyed room. Part of the ceiling came down and buried the whole office under its stones, he noticed, and his heart ached painfully for a second. He looked into the corner where the other guy had stood earlier. Instead there was a perfectly round ball made of sand. Slowly it began to run down to the floor, revealing a faultlessly healthy redhead who supported, better said carried, a badly injured Naruto, who seemed to be unconscious. Her blonde hair was stained with the bright color of her blood. While the guy wasn't even dirty, her clothes were ripped apart and showed her burnt skin. Does she belong to you? The guy asked the incoming shinobi. Sakura ran towards them and the green chakra glowed between her fingers when she started a diagnosis jutsu. How is it, Sakura? The concerned look on her face worried Sasuke. She has a cut on her head, and about 15% of her skin is burnt. To add, there are various bruises. She is unconscious and ought to have a concussion. Her current state is not good, but she hasn't any inner injuries and nothing's broken. She'll easily survive if I can treat her in a hospital. Don't worry, Kakashi-sensei, she'll be alright. He nodded his thanks to Sakura and immediately felt better. Alright, let's take her to the hospital. Kakashi looked at the redhead who plainly lifted her from her feet and carried her bridal style. There was a storm of sand and the two were gone. Getting his mind together, Kakashi dragged Sakura out of the room, made his way to the hospital with her. Everything was hot, she remembered. There had been fire, stones had flown around, hitting her hard on the head. She also recalled Kakashi's shocked look, as she had pushed him away. When she had closed the door, she didn't feel regret. She had known that this wouldn't end too well, when she had seen the flames getting closer, but she had been calm. The only things that had made the ground shaken were Gaara's sea-green eyes. During the meeting he hadn't shown any emotion, his face was still unmoved, but those orbs were trembling now. Filled with questions and also a hint of sorrow. Naruto wasn't able to hear the words he said, but since she was an ANBU she was skilled in lip reading. Why? It was a single word that he had on his mind. And to his surprise she had smiled. It had been a sad smile, though beautiful. It was confusing. He thought her beautiful, since he only found the moon and the blood from his victims beautiful. Why her? In her eyes had been an understanding he never had experienced, a sharing of grief and suffer. She had known why he had asked, couldn't grab the action she made to save Kakashi in a reasonable way. That hadn't been what life had been teaching him. To give up yourself to rescue someone else. His sudden urge to help came too late. He saved her from most of the downcoming bricks, but the flying furniture and the fire had hit her at full force. His mind still hadn't worked out why he had helped her at all. She was just a Konoha Jounin on a diplomatic mission. Nothing special, so why had he pulled her into his sand defense? Why the? Did he care? He never did. So why start with this blonde? Why couldn't he forget her cerulean eyes, clear as the deep blue sea? Why did he want her to open them again and smile? Just why, he thought as he reappeared in the hospital and carefully dropped her on one of the beds. Almost the next second the jounin with the half-covered face and the girl with the odd hair color came around the corner. They were fast, he had to admit. He shot the injured girl another look. He didn't know if she felt pain, the word didn't mean anything to him, he never experienced it. But if she did feel it now, he wanted it to stop. It was supposed to be not too nice. The effort the kunoichi made showed results. The skin healed right before their eyes and the violent colors around the bruises disappeared. Her expression relaxed and Sakura went over to the head to make a brain checkup. Kakashi stepped to the side of the patient. "Naruto, what did you do?" he muttered and then laid a hand on her arm. "Think, what would your father say now?" Sakura eyed him curiously. "He'd be proud." Everyone looked at Naruto, whose eyes fluttered open. Her voice was less than a whisper. "Because I protected a friend, his precious student. He'd understand that I saved a comrade, don't you think?" Kakashi looked pained. "Yes, you're right." He sighed. "You're just like him. There's a reason why he chose you for the difficult burden you're carrying. If he wasn't gone, he would apologize to you every day for the task he gave to you. He loved you." Naruto's smile was soft. "I'm not angry anymore. Today, I'd do the same." Sakura looked pretty puzzled. "Kakashi-sensei, what are you talking about?" "Nothing much." Naruto answered and turned to Gaara. She slowly lifted a hand and laid it on his. He almost backed away by the soft touch, but finally let it happen. "You have a hard fate, I know that better than anyone else, I've been through the same pain." Gaara's eyes widened, Kakashi looked sad, Sakura even more confused. "You don't have to be alone, Sabaku no Gaara. Don't lock your heart away." Her eyelids fluttered again and she fell into sleep again, her hand still holding his. Sakura swallowed the questions she had and picked up the work again. After a few minutes Sasuke entered the room. "How is it?" he asked. "She is sleeping now, she woke up a few minutes ago and seemed to be alright. She should take it easy and stay in the hospital for the next week, to keep her under observation, and she'll be fine. Her self-regeneration is impressive by the way." Sakura explained. "Did you learn anything?" she finally questioned. "Yeah, and quite a lot. The bombs were placed by some Sunanines who are against the ally ship, we found out. They are already in prison, the Kazekage is going to interrogate them later. The attack was carried out that way, to break down the ceiling but not to damage the rest of the building." He grabbed into his pocket. "I found Naruto's hatayate. It got lost in the explosion." Everyone's eyes wandered to her arm, where it usually was tied, finding only the bandages there. "Is that a scratch on her arm?" Sakura asked and pulled the leftovers of the fabric away, exposing the tattoo. The whole room went dead silent. After a while Kakashi found everyone look at him. He sighed. "Yes, Naruto is an ANBU. I worked together with her from time to time." "You knew?" It wasn't a question but a statement. Sakura had an awfully betrayed look on her face. "Yeah, I did. And I'm sorry that I couldn't tell you, but it was the Hokage's order. Besides, ANBU are obliged to hide their identity. Naruto will get punishment as soon as we return to Konoha." "Punishment?" Sasuke asked. "Yes, she broke the rules." Both Kyunin were shocked. "But she almost died. How can someone punish her for it?" Kakashi started to explain his students the ANBU codex to provide misunderstandings. Meanwhile Gaara only listened with one ear. The other one was only able to hear the steady breathing Naruto finally had. His mind was far away as well. Her words were still very present, the feelings that came with them were as well. The surprising truth was, he believed her. That was odd, because meeting someone who had a comparable life with his was a very uncommon occasion. No one he ever got to know had been through similar pain. And the same? Almost impossible. But nevertheless he believed her. She's a Jinchuriki, isn't she? He asked the Jounin who seemed to know her a bit. The man looked desperate. Yes, she is. She already suffered a lot in her life. I can imagine. You seem to pity her. Feel sorry for her. Why's that? Isn't she a monster who killed countless of your friends? Now, Gaara got the sad look, which was also directed towards him. No, she's not. For many she still is, but to me she's a friend. The redhead thought about it. He couldn't really understand it. What made her different from himself? Gaara, are you alright? We heard about the explosion and were worried. Gaara didn't need to turn around to know that his siblings Kankuro and Temari stormed into the room. Out of habit, he was about to say something evil that would have scared them off, but he remembered Naruto's words. I'm fine, Temari. Thanks for your concern. The surprised looks the siblings made were priceless. Naruto woke up again late at night. The sky was coal black, there weren't any stars. Only the moon shone softly in her room. Her whole body was aching, but all in all she was surprisingly well thanks to Kyubi. Other people would still be unconscious. She sat up and hissed at the pain in her back. Nevertheless she kept on getting in a sitting position. Her throat was dry as the dessert and she looked around for a glass of water in her reach. Of course there wasn't any. No one expected her to wake up already. A small curse escaped her lips. You seem to be better. Sasuke's voice came out of a dark corner of the room. Instinctively Naruto lifted a hand to her tattoo, finding it uncovered. We all know. He said, answering her unsaid question. She stated. Should have kept it a secret. Still dizzy from sleep and medication, she tried to straighten herself but lost balance. He reacted fast and caught her midair. She panted heavily from the exhaustion. Thank you, Uchiha. I guess I'm not fit again. How should you? The accident is just 12 hours ago. It's impressive you already awake again. I heal fast. Carefully Sasuke placed her in the pillows again, then sat down on the bed next to her. You scared us, especially Kakashi-sensei. He was sitting in your room until an hour ago, when Sakura told him to get some sleep. I'm sorry. It wasn't my intention to bother you. He shook his head. We know that, Kakashi does. Naruto, there are some things I said earlier, I am very sorry for. He shifted his weight and Naruto could see he was very uneasy. You were right, it wasn't fair to judge you and I thank you for protecting my sensei, I owe you. No, not really. He's my friend as well. He's one of the persons that told me to stand up for my important people. When I was going through a very difficult time, he was there as well. She paused. And about the other thing, it's alright. Sometimes it isn't easy to be a good shinobi, you have to find your center. Don't worry about it, the time will come. They were both silent until Sasuke spoke again. You were in ANBU together, right? Yes, but there wasn't a time when we were both active ANBU at the same time. When I finished my training and joined a squad at 13, he already quit to teach you and Sakura. But we did Jounin missions together and he still sometimes takes ANBU missions, because he is one of our best men. Aren't you very young for being in ANBU? Because when you compare your age with others they are often much older. Not that I don't believe you're good, but... He trailed off. I am young, indeed. But my training started early as well. I was 4 when a very skilled shinobi started to teach me. Other brilliant ones followed. He looked at her interested, but didn't ask for the names. You experienced a lot of pain, didn't you? She didn't answer the question for a long time. Her thoughts traveled especially through the first years of her life, before things got better. Yeah, you're right. But now I have friends and people I care for, that's the most important. I have work to do and someone relying on me. I'm more than just a little girl, which is hated by everyone. I'm more than. She stopped, not wanting to tell Sasuke about Kyubi yet. But he seemed to be concerned about her, maybe they could be friends. Being an Uchiha is hard as well, right? He nodded. Since my father was executed, things got difficult. Do you hate the Hokage for his actions? He thought about it for a minute. No, he prevented the deaths of many innocent people. What the clan planned was wrong. A civil war would have been far worse for Konoha than breaking the Uchiha. Because of that, I want to become stronger and rebuild the Uchiha's good name. That's an admirable goal, Uchiha Sasuke. The next day the Kazekage paid her a visit and apologized for the incident. He also thanked her for rescuing him and Baki, his advisor. He described the problems with the bombs weren't that easy to solve, but he didn't want to stop the diplomatic contact with Konoha. He offered her to demand a backup team from Leaf, and Naruto immediately wrote a letter to the Hokage and requested a certain ANBU squad. When she was alone in her room again, a big sigh escaped her. All the smiling and being friendly exhausted her mentally. It was then, when she noticed a strong and evil presence of a skilled shinobi outside coming down the corridor, and her senses were on alert immediately. Her mind wasn't still as clear as it should have been, the reason she sensed the murderous presence so late. She was supposed to be more careful. She adjusted herself in the bed to get up more easily. Outside her room she could feel it coming closer, indescribable, angry and evil. As if some monster or demon, that was suppressed under the surface of the world, broke free. The person carrying the spirit walked down the hallway straight towards her door and stopped in front of it. Naruto sat up on the bed and swung her legs over the edge. Why are you getting up, Naruto? Something wrong? Kakashi stood near the window and eyed her worried. You aren't allowed to get up yet. When did you come in? She was obviously surprised, if not shocked, Kakashi saw. It was rare that he was able to get near her, without being noticed. And he hadn't even tried to suppress a chakra signature. So she still was worse than she looked. I just came. What is it? Didn't you sense me entering? He half joked, until she shook her head, her attention still directed towards the strange presence outside the door. Don't you feel something? Senpai? Strong and aggressive? She asked absently. He focused on his surroundings. No. He slowly answered. Should I? He got no answer. After a while she lifted her head and smiled at him. No, I guess I'm still dizzy from the medication. Maybe I should sleep a bit more. He nodded in agreement. Okay, rest and recover fast. I'll go and look after Sakura and Sasuke a bit. I'll drop in later, Naruto. Yeah, fine. Thanks, senpai. She waited until he vanished in a swirl of leaves. She recognized the change in the presence in the last few minutes. As soon Kakashi entered, the anger disappeared and was replaced by deep sadness. The person started walking away towards the elevator. Naruto got up shaking. She fought the urge to lie down and let the person be, but walked through the door. Following the lingering rest of chakra, she waited in front of the elevator, watching the numbers on the display go higher. Eventually it stopped at roof. Going up herself, she became more anxious to know to whom the aura belonged. When the machine stopped, Naruto almost fell, since she felt very unsure on her own legs. She walked out of the cabin, when the doors opened, and found herself having a fantastic view over Tsunagakure. She turned to look around and spotted a guy sitting on the edge of balustrade. Because she looked right into the slowly setting sun, she couldn't figure out who it was. She walked towards him, and when she was only a few yards away, Gaara turned around and looked at her. She instantly knew, it had been him she had felt. She should have known. Carefully leaving quite a bit space between them, so he wouldn't feel crowded, she sat down next to him, watching the sky turning in beautiful colors. What do you want? He asked, his voice rude, but she didn't mind. I could ask you the same. Why didn't you come in earlier? How did you know someone was there? I think it's because we are so much alike. Kakashi couldn't feel your presence, because he isn't a Jinchuriki. The words hung in the air between them, while Gaara thought about having met someone like him. He eventually broke the silence. We are the same, yet, you are different. She'd expect that. Yeah, I am. When I was 4, the Hokage found me after I suffered another beating by some villagers. When he asked how he could help me, I wanted power, but he gave much more than that, something I needed very badly. What is it? Being acknowledged, she thought, but it wasn't the right way to put it for him to understand. He would mistake it. A family. I grew up in the ANBU headquarters where I found friends and a home. It may be hard for a child in that environment, but there were people that began to respect me. They didn't hate me, because they know that I'm not Kyuubi, it's just sealed inside me. That made me the person I am today. Gaara looked at her. His face was still emotionless, but in his eyes Naruto saw the deep confusion. How do you know you're alive? Whatever I do, there's no way to get attention, to get people see me. It's like I don't exist if I don't force them to notice me. So I have to kill them. I understand what you want to say. To see emotions directed towards you, even if it's hate, fear or sadness, it's better than not to live at all. But it's wrong. I have people relying on me, who need me and who care about me. They are my proof I'm alive. They both kept the silence for a long time. Naruto noticed how she got tired and leaned against a wall next to her. Slowly she fell asleep, Gaara still sitting not too far from her. Is there a too late? His question reached her after a long time. No, there isn't, if you don't want one. With this she was finally gone. Gaara listened to her steady breath, while he thought about the conversation. She came up here to look who want to visit her and didn't turn around, when she recognized him. She seemed to understand him perfectly, answered his questions and told him about her life. She was interested in how he felt. It was the most fascinating moment, the most personal he ever shared with a person. What was so special about this girl? Her eyes, her voice, her character. What made her different from him? Before she came everything was in order and then she turned his life somehow in a very special way upside down the second she decided to rescue her friend. When he learned that she was a Jinchuriki and saw her team caring about her, he got angry. He found out later that it was jealousy and sadness. He hadn't had anything to touch his heart in the last 10 years and now after all this time, only one person was enough to break one of the houndred walls around his soul. Uzumaki-san, you have visitors. Naruto sat on her hospital bed next to Sakura. Kakashi stood in a corner and Sasuke made himself comfortable on the windowsill, when the nurse smiled kindly and opened the door. There was a swirl of black and blue and Naruto found herself in a death grip. Naruto-chan, I was so worried when I heard you suffered bad injuries. The woman with blue hair and a mouse mask backed away a bit to examine the blonde closer. How do you feel? I heard you were in a horrible condition just because of a few bombs. This isn't like you. Everyone was breathless for a second, so much energy filled the room. Fortunately seemed to know those situations and smiled. It's alright, mouse. Because of certain circumstances I couldn't use a jutsu, but my health isn't that damaged. Sorry to worry you. Satisfied, the woman stood up again and looked around. She spotted Kakashi and the other two and jumped. How impolite I am. She shouted, making Sakura to grab her ears in horror. Mouse walked towards the Chunin and offered each one of them a hand. Hey, I'm Mouse. We are the backup. Nice to meet you. Only seconds later she stood in front of the Jonin and looked at him curiously. If it isn't the long-lost Tataki Kakashi. I haven't seen you in 5 years. That recalls memories. Do you remember when the two of us were on a mission in snow? Your sensei is a pretty interesting one. She said in the direction of Sakura and Sasuke, who were gaping at the woman. Mouse. Quit talking. It came from the door. There were 2 guys in ANBU armor, one with a tiger, and the other with an eagle mask. Mouse looked disappointed, even though her face couldn't be seen. Naruto took the moment, while she was quiet, to nod the 2 men a greeting. Is everything okay with Bear? Why are you here, Tiger? Not that I mind. She asked. Usually the squad wasn't traveling without their captain. Certain circumstances. The guy with the eagle mask said cut shortly. Then he walked over to her bed and handed her a small scroll. She smiled brightly when she finished reading. That are good news, if you leave out the reasons. So the rules are lifted? She asked. The man nodded. The Hokage is awaiting big trouble, and to ensure a better work with Team Kakashi he set up new rules. That's wonderful. Naruto smiled at Mouse, who was already getting rid of her mask. Kakashi inhaled sharply. What's going on? A few things, but mainly regarding the possible outcomes of this situation. The Hokage wants us to work together more close, and to be an efficient force we need to get to know each other. So the usual secret rules are gone. You three are to know the identities of Mouse, Tiger, Eagle, and Wolf. All of them nodded. That made sense to them. Their gaze wandered to Mouse, who was a woman about 20 years old and quite beautiful. Her eyes were from an interesting green-blue, sparkling with mischief, and her features were kind and a bit childish. So that this scroll arrived in its owner's hands, I can properly introduce myself. I'm Hinoji Yuzuka, 19 years young and 2 of them spending in ANBU. I'm a genjutsu specialist, so be careful. She winked at the Chunin. Then one of the guys, the one called Eagle, unmasked his face and everyone immediately knew he was a Hyuga. My name is Hyuga Niji, 17 years old, codename Eagle. Since I have the Byakugan, I am the espionage specialist and the eyes for my team. The last one stepped forward. I'm Mikomo, 22. This isn't my original team, but in our last mission, we lost 2 of our teammates, so the remaining members were put into new teams. I worked together with this one before, and since there was a spot free, here I am. Sakura looked upset and tried to change the subject. Why is there one person insufficient? She asked. Well, that's a new move. The point is that there's no need to have 2 captains on one team, so Bear was assigned to another one. She looked even more confused. Why, 2 captains? Who else is? The thing is, I just got promoted, Naruto said happily. Kakashi patted her in the shoulder and smiled. So you overtook me by 2 ranks already. Am I really that weak? Both laughed, but the Chunin still weren't exactly following. I really don't get it. May I introduce myself again? Naruto asked. Uzumaki Naruto, 15 years old, codename Wolf and captain of ANBU Squad 23. The situation got worse. We got word about several secret meetings leading towards a revolution against the Kazakage's allyship with us. He is a very difficult position, almost half of his shinobi can't be called loyal anymore. Is there any way to avoid a civil war anymore? Maybe yes, maybe not. Naruto sat around a huge table with the other Konoha ninja and discussed the issue for an hour already. It was a week after the ANBU had arrived and Suna was on the edge. The village became even more unstable because of the presence of more strangers, and the civilians sympathized with the shinobi, who wanted the Konohanin home. The wounds from earlier conflicts were still visible. Konoha wasn't welcome. Yuzuka laid a hand on Naruto's shoulder. What is it, dear? You have something on your mind? The blue orb seemed very distant. The point is that the villagers need to understand that things changed and we are facing much more serious problems. We can only solve if we work together. You're right. Nakomo agreed. You know about the group founded in AIM? It'll get dangerous for Suna as well since they have Gaara. The 2 Chunin looked at him confused. The group is called Akatsuki, an organization including S-class nuke. We don't have a number confirmed, but it goes from 6 to 10. They are hunting Jinchuriki and steal their biju to create a giant weapon. Those who hadn't heard that before looked worried. Is this information safe? Kakashi asked. Yes, we have a specialist for research, working on it. He uses his efficient network. And sometimes the right toad whispers something. He got the hint. It was Jiraiya. Naruto smiled at the thought of her godfather. She really loved her father's former teacher and he taught her all about Minato's jutsu and her clan. After some time he became like her grandfather, a pretty crazy one, but she admired him deeply. Who could not like this guy? Half an hour later the seven of them were standing on a large training ground. Kakashi chose to have some sparring matches to distract them from the problems and keep them fit. He also wanted to test his students a bit. Seeing them go against a full-fledged ANBU would be brilliant to expose weak points. They decided by luck who would fight against who, and Niji got to be the ringleader. The first two were Sakura against Nakomo. The kunoichi was pretty strong and also not too slow, but it wasn't enough against the dotonjutsu her opponent used. She fought viciously, but after only 30 minutes she was buried up to her chin in earth. This match is for Nakomo, Niji said and helped Sakura out of the mess. Naruto smiled. Sakura was not bad, but a certain thing was missing, though Naruto couldn't name it. Maybe the help of a certain person would come handy. The great chakra control was exactly what was requested. Sasuke-san, Yuzuka, please get ready. Naruto got yanked out of her thoughts when the second match started. The raven-haired boy used basically ninjutsu based on his koton, but Yuzuka knew a lot about barriers as well. Finally Sasuke activated his Sharingan and after a while the two were just standing in front of each other fighting a silent Genjutsu battle. They seemed somewhat even, because neither of them gave in, when suddenly a second Yuzuka appeared behind Sasuke and knocked him down. Yuzuka wins. Niji easily decided. You're good, Uchiha. Your Genjutsu is already impressive, but you need to keep an ace in your sleeve. She vanished in a sparkle. A Raitun clone? He asked surprised and got up slowly. Be prepared for everything when you fight an unknown opponent. Always have a plan B, that's what you learn in ANBU. Naruto explained. Yuzuka is one of the best in that subject, she is a pretty sly one. She grinned. Oh, thank you Narutaishu. The real blue-haired ANBU jumped towards her captain. Good luck to you. I hope you have fun. Kakashi stepped in the middle of the field and Naruto could feel the pity Sasuke and Sakura had for her that she had to fight their sensei. The silver-haired man suddenly held his old ANBU mask in his hand and tied it to his face, just after revealing his Sharingan. Naruto looked very serious. So you want to go for it for real this time? She asked when she untied the wolf mask from her belt. The time of being careful with you is long over. She could hear the smirk in his voice when he asked the next question. Afraid? Naruto was now prepared. You wish. With that they ran towards each other with unbelievable speed. Yuzuka grabbed a startled Sasuke and jumped far away from the fighters and Nakomo pulled Sakura behind a tree. Both were confused, but when Naruto and Kakashi collided, they understood. A giant shockwave rushed over the ground, so much chakra in it that Sakura couldn't breathe for a second, although she stood behind the wood. When the dust cleared a bit, the Chunin were surprised not seeing the opponents lying on the ground unconscious, but almost no more visible. I really can't follow their movements. Sometimes I don't even see them. Sasuke said. Use our Sharingan. Yuzuka stated. He followed her order and watched in awe how fast and effective taijutsu was used in this battle. Naruto meanwhile had the time of her life. Though she had to focus hard so she could block Kakashi's punches, she sometimes couldn't stop the laughter that escaped her lips. She hadn't had a fight like this in a long time. She knew they were both holding back, since they were only relying on taijutsu. It was time for a bit more, she decided, pulling out her sword. Kakashi took a kunai and channeled his chakra into it, but with the futon Naruto had a clear advantage. It cut right through the other weapon. Kakashi flipped back and looked at the now useless knife and threw it away. Now it was becoming serious. While Kakashi started with fire and earth jutsu, Naruto had to use her whole strength to dodge those attacks. With Fuin jutsu, something the clan of her Myther had perfected, she got out of the difficult situation. She summoned her shadow clones that should distract her senpai, while a much more difficult but stronger jutsu was prepared. She avoided the fireball, flying at her, and waited for it to cool down before she jumped forward. "Meet my complete own jutsu," she shouted. Wind element, dance of the falling leaves. Suddenly the air filled with chakra which formed into visible little leaves. They moved in sync with Naruto, her movements were like a dance. Like thousand little needles or daggers they aimed for Kakashi, piercing through his skin, sending him to the ground. A cloud of smoke appeared around him and there was only a piece of wood left, just as Naruto expected. The fight was fantastic, Sakura thought, and even the other ANBU looked a bit impressed. "How long can that take?" she asked Nakomo. "Hours, a day, longer if their chakra lasts." "Unbelievable," she said, breathless. "Yes, it's why Naruto is our captain." "Who will win?" "Kakashi. She hasn't reached him yet, his experiences give him an advantage, but her time will come. She knows that." Gaara walked down Suna's road leading to the training grounds outside the village following the crowd. Word had spread that there was a spar between two of the Leaf Shinobi lasting already 2 hours. Curiously, the villagers were watching to be entertained, the Suna ninja trying to find out more about their possible enemies. Gaara wasn't really interested, but he thought it wouldn't be complete waste of time and maybe he could figure out what to do with this blonde girl. Inside, the demon was screaming to kill her and Gaara began to agree with him. Before she arrived his life was. But he didn't had someone planting self-doubt inside him, if this was the right way to deal with the problems. He just killed, became a murderer, so everyone recognized him. She protected those who hurt her. As if that would ever change anything. He didn't want to rely on the sympathy of others. This was something to pity. Wasn't it better to get rid of her so he could keep up his normal lifestyle? He arrived at the training ground and immediately knew it was her fighting. Her chakra was just so powerful. He made himself comfortable in a dead tree and watched a fight that he knew was not often to be seen. They were pretty good and the number of ninjutsu surprised everyone. The crowd was just stunned, the ninja admiring, rethinking the idea of having them as an ally. Gaara watched as another explosion dug up the ground and sent the sand flying. When the air was clear once again, everyone could see Kakashi and Naruto stand in front of each other, panting heavily. Their clothes were dirty and a few scratches were on their skin. Sweat soaked their attire. "You know, it's unfair to fight me in this condition. My injuries are still stopping me," the blonde said. "I'm not that much of a fool to actually believe you want me to see you as handicapped." The both left their fighting stances and took off their mask, exposing content and smiling faces. "Good to work with you, senpai. I think it's time you drop that. I'm not your senpai anymore. Maybe not officially, but somehow you will always be." Kakashi walked towards the other, stopping when he passed her. "You keep me thinking that Minato and Kushina would be very proud. You are the child they wished you to be." Everything said so quietly that no one but Naruto could hear it. Touched, she smiled. "Thanks," she said, but he was already with the others explaining Sasuke some move he wanted him to learn well. Naruto looked around and spotted Gaara in the tree. She grinned at him, not really expecting a reply but definitely not prepared for the hateful glare he shot her. He vanished into sand. Suddenly he reappeared behind her, his sand aiming for her. She barely blocked it and jumped back. The others looked surprised in their direction. The watching villagers immediately turned and ran towards the village, fearing Gaara's sand could want some more sacrifices. Even the shinobi stepped back a bit. "Gaara." Naruto looked hurt. "What are you doing?" Instead, the sand crept up from the ground and started to cover her skin. Soon Naruto was half caught. Feeling the pressure already, she struggled and tried to free herself but wasn't able to. After mere seconds, every part but her head was surrounded with sand. "Why?" she asked. He shook his head. "I thought you would be more of a challenge. I guess Shikaku made me waste my time." He started to press the sand stronger together harder. She gasped for air. "He's not you, Gaara. Don't listen to him." She went quiet at the force of his jutsu. Now that it was easy to see, she hadn't the situation under control. The others jumped forward to help her. Stop! She screamed, and everyone, the Konohanin, the Sunanin and Gaara, were surprised. Don't attack him. This is an order. He's an ally. Her squad looked pained. Naruto, that's not worth it. The Hokage wouldn't want this as well, Niji said. Especially his eyes were full of sadness. He moved forward. Don't, Niji. I said this is an order. I'm your captain and you're not going to disobey my orders. Don't put something in the line you have no right to. This isn't your decision to make. She looked at Gaara again. Deep sorrow crossed her features, but no fear. This enraged the monster inside him. The last part of her disappeared when the sand moved on to stop her blue eyes piercing him. He couldn't bear it. Naruto. Sakura's scream was mortifying and all viewers looked sad. The girl in the sand must be dying right now. Sabaku-kyu. Gaara closed his fist and the cracking of bones could be heard. A cruel contentment appeared on his face. So that's it, he said and started walking away, leaving the Konoha ninja grieving. No, it's not. You lost. He turned at the sound of that voice. Right in the middle of the field stood a perfectly unharmed Naruto. How? Too bad you put so much effort into destroying my shadow clone. Then she got really serious. I'm disappointed that you surrendered to the Biju. You didn't even really try. It's a pity. She turned towards the other and hugged Niji and Sakura, Yuzuka following right after. Come on guys, let's head back. I think I need to rest a bit, she said sadly and looked at Gaara one more time, who stood there, disbelief and hundreds of questions on his face. Gaara still didn't know what exactly had happened yesterday. Technically he did understand what had been going on at the training grounds. He knew the reason why Uzumaki Naruto wasn't dead, but her expressions, facial as well as verbal, left him in confusion. He was sitting on a roof somewhere in the civilians' district in Sunagakure and it was late at night. The moon wasn't shining like the last few days. The sky was covered with clouds, which was pretty odd for the desert. The roads were almost empty, the last few people returned home from their nightly trips to a bar or a club. Soon the street lights would die down and the city would sleep in the darkness. He wouldn't sleep, he never did, but he didn't envy those who could anymore. Sometimes he felt incredibly tired of his life, but he knew that even sleep wouldn't solve this because he could never escape his reality. A group of 5 people were walking down the road and Gaara immediately found them suspicious. The way they were looking around, as if fearing to be captured the next second and their, to him, obvious disguise. Of course they didn't spot him. If he didn't want to be found, he wouldn't. Their destination emphasized to be the house he was sitting on and shortly after they knocked, the building became lively. The people tried to be quiet and Gaara wouldn't have overheard their conversation, hadn't he the inhuman strong senses. Suna is weak now. A male voice said that Gaara might have heard before. Yeah, we should take the chance and attack. Now. Agreeing murmurs filled the room. But they have help. What about the Konoha ninja? We can handle the Kazekage, but they'll work against us, too. We don't know how strong they are. We can do it. This was a woman and Gaara heard the determination in her strong voice. We may not have a lot shinobi as skilled as them, but we will outnumber them. They discussed a while longer and the female got more and more to agree with her. You don't stand a chance. They all looked out of the window, from where the bored voice came. Gaara was sitting on a cloud of sand watching their shock in a slight amusement. That's the Kazekage's son. Someone shouted and the 10 people in the room backed further away. Now it was easy to see, they weren't from Suna. So you want to go against Sunagakure, one of the 5 great nations? Ridiculous. He sighed. You're right, the village is weakened now and the shinobi aren't loyal to the Kazekage. But that doesn't mean they wouldn't forget to fight you. To defend their families they would die. They'll protect the village at any cost. By the way, those leaf shinobi are more difficult to handle than you think. A rough-looking woman stepped to the front and Gaara recognized her voice as the pro-attack leader. You actually think we are too weak? She snapped. You are. Think about it. A complete elite ANBU squad and another team of regular shinobi. Other question, what makes you so confident that you'll defend the Kage? We have an ace in our sleeve. He merely looked at the guy who shouted this. 1. Is this enough? But actually I don't care. What are you planning, now that you know our plans? The woman asked and he felt that everyone was ready to go for him. Nothing. All of them gasped at that revelation. You're not going to warn your village? There's not reason to. The woman gained her composure first, trying to take an advantage out of the situation. You want to join us? I'm not interested. Not in your conflicts, nor your plans, nor your fights. She looked disappointed. But I have a personal matter to solve with Anna the Konoha NBU. You are going to leave her to me and she won't be your problem anymore. If those overconfident rebels would give him the opportunity to get rid of the blonde kunoichi, he would gladly take it. Is she strong? I suppose, to you, she'll be more than just a challenge. Do you want to support us with other matters as well? No. The woman sighed and pushed back her brown hair. Fine, so we have a deal? He nodded but didn't take the hand she offered to him. The silence became a bit uneasy, so an older shinobi jumped in. You need to describe her to us, so one of us doesn't take her out by accident. Gaara lifted an eyebrow but didn't say anything. She's about 16 or 17, small, tiny body with waist-long blonde hair. If she doesn't wear the ANBU mask, which is a wolf, you can see she has blue eyes. He tried to shake off the thought of her. It was easy to imagine his disappointed look right now. Fine, you take care of her and we'll do the rest. I want her fresh, so don't dare to take on her too much. It's me she'll surrender to. I'll make you responsible for her to find me in good condition. With those words he vanished, still haunted by her beautiful face. We should get ready soon. Kakashi looked up from the sheet of paper he was reading and shot Niji a questioning glance, because of the sudden statement. The Konohanins were in their apartment in the living room relaxing and killing time. Sakura and Yuzuka sat in a corner chatting, Sasuke was reading and Niji and Nakomo were playing a game of shogi. The white-haired Jounin himself looked over some letters from Sarutobi Asuma, who was in the land of waves with his team. But those were forgotten when Niji broke the silence that had already lasted for quite some time. What do you mean? He voiced the question he could also see in his team's eyes. It's Naruto, she's getting more and more restless. Something will happen soon. He and Yuzuka exchanged an agreeing nod. They both looked towards the balcony doors, behind which Naruto was staring into the night. I still don't get the point. Sasuke entered the conversation. We haven't had any criminal activity in the village the last 2 days. It's quiet. And also I don't think Naruto's acting anyhow strange. Nakomo sighed. You won't notice it, Sasuke. I still don't sense it as well and I know her for more than a year. But either way, Niji and Yuzuka are working with her for a long time and they are sure she is sensing more than us. The raven-haired still looked critical. You can bet she does. The ANBU woman said, defending her theory. She feels danger and is getting disturbed. And I can feel something is moving her right now. Don't you agree, Kakashi? I have experienced that sixth sense indeed, though I never thought it something reliable. It's somewhat like an animal that knows about an earthquake and is able to flee in time. Niji nodded. Exactly. He got up. I'll go outside and talk with her a bit. When the glass doors closed behind him, Kakashi looked unsure. Will she really tell him anything? He knew how hard it was to get her to talk at certain times. He's her best friend. Nakomo answered. I didn't know they were that close. Sakura mouthed her thoughts. They are. If she doesn't tell him, she'll tell nobody. She'll talk to him. A hint of uncertainty was in Yuzuka's voice. Anyways, we should get ready. For what? That, I don't know. So Niji, you came to join me watch the stars? Naruto asked as Niji entered the balcony. He walked towards her and leaned against the balustrade. What's bothering you? Don't tell me you actually came to watch the stars. It's cloudy since yesterday. She smiled. You already got me. You always do. They paused. I was thinking a bit. A lot of things happened the last few days. This mission is in a whole new level for me. He sighed. Are you still upset about that, Gaara? She nodded. I thought I could help him, since I'm one of the few people that can understand him. We talked before and he seemed to get what I was telling him about the differences between him and me. Her expression became pained. Carrying a biju is an everyday challenge. It can talk to you and manipulate you. It's making you angry and confused because it's staining your thoughts with hatred and fury. It's not easy to be a good person with it trying to awaken your instincts to kill and destroy. You have to fight and spate this voice from your own thoughts. It's hard. It's like having schizophrenia and keeping your head clear. Niji looked at her sadly. Naruto. If it's hard for you, you don't have to talk about it. Her smile was full of thanks. I know, Niji, but I want to. She picked up the subject again. However, it's difficult and tiring and hard and exhausting and it looks like it doesn't pay off. I know all that, but he doesn't even try. Her voice broke and became desperate. Why? Why doesn't he fight the demon? This isn't a life anyone would choose. She started sobbing, feeling pushed away and hurt. It's so hard to live this way. Why doesn't he want to change? Why doesn't he want my help? Niji knew deep inside she wasn't just sad that Gaara didn't want the change, but that he, a person that could truly feel with her, threw her away completely. It hadn't just hurt her physically, when he tried to kill her 2 days ago. And deep down, she was scared. Sorry to bother you with that crap. I'm such a mess. He put his arm around her shoulder and pulled her close. That's okay, it's what friends are for. She nodded and leaned on him to cry. Is something else bothering you? He asked when she had calmed down and he had released her. Something's coming. I can feel it. Do you have any idea, Captain? No, but I think it'll struck us unprepared from a blind spot. I don't think it's the Sand Shinobi, they'll wait a bit longer. It might be someone who wants to take advantage of the unstable situation here. Of course. Shinobi from the outside might take a chance to attack Suna. But how would they know? This information is well kept. Spying. It wouldn't be easy, but something of our level can get almost everywhere in this village. Maybe even traitors. They watched the clouds a bit longer, everyone wrapped in his own thoughts. You feel better now? Niji asked after a while. She nodded. You're a good listener. Even if nobody has advice for me, it was good telling someone about it. She hugged him. Thank you. She kissed his cheek. That's my girl. He said happily. She couldn't help but smile at him again. Niji and she shared a very deep bond, something between best friends and siblings. It had been Naruto who had opened him the eyes about the fight going on in his clan and helped him being able to forgive his uncle and cousin Hinata. Naruto owed him as well. Having a best friend you could always talk to was priceless. Some would say their bond was too deep to be just friends, but none of them thought about them being lovers. They both knew they hadn't found their special person yet. They cared for each other, nothing more. Let's go inside, Naruto. You're getting cold. She wanted to thank him for his concern, but the next sentence she spit out was one of the most horrible curses he ever heard. Maybe it had something to do with him carrying her inside. She was light, he noticed again, and understood the opponents that underestimated her. She wasn't fighting seriously, but he couldn't think that the girl, which was struggling over his shoulder, could be dangerous. Let me down, you white-eyed traitor. I'm not a bag. She cried out as he stepped inside, where they met either surprised or amused looks. Set her down, Niji. The little girl might exhaust herself from all the screaming. Nakomo snickered. Don't you dare to make fun of me, I beat you in stamina 10 times. She snapped back. This gave Yuzuka the rest. The blue-haired kunoichi had been undecided between pitying her friend and bursting out in laughter. But now she gave in, especially after Naruto looking at her for help with such a desperate look. Eventually Niji sat her down and the next second he was lying on the floor with a triumphant-looking Naruto above him. He kicked away her legs and she was sitting on her butt. I'll never forgive you for this, Hyuga. You lost. Niji tried to act serious but when everyone was laughing he joined in again and finally Naruto did as well. It had been a perfectly normal morning for Ito Hanako. She woke up 7 o'clock, when the sun had already warmed up the air. Her mother came into her room, managing to get to her bed without tripping over the many toys on the floor. Then Hanako had breakfast. Rice, soup and some fish. The usual. Her father waved goodbye as he went to work and later, around noon, the two women went shopping at the market. Then something unusual happened. When they headed over to the vegetable stall, a long sharp knife that stuck in the ground attracted the attention of the little girl. Growing up in a shinobi village, she instantly could name it. Kunai. She shouted out. Then she spotted the sheet of paper tied onto it and ran away from her mother unnoticed to take a closer look. Hanako. Come on, we need to go home. Ito said a few minutes later. She looked around and her heart almost stopped when she saw her girl, an explosive tag in her hands. Hanako. She screamed and ran towards her. Drop that. The girl looked up and the mother saw sparks beginning to fly at one end of the tag. She grabbed the kunai and threw it. She was no shinobi so it merely made a few yards. And the tag was burning. Yo grabbed her child and braced herself for the pain. It never came. Though she could hear the sound of the explosion, there was neither fire nor the pressure wave. Nothing. She carefully turned around and saw a woman standing there, obviously a shinobi. She had sea blue hair and wore black pants, a sleeveless shirt and gray protectors for the arms, hands, and her chest and back. She was tall and you could feel the strength running through her veins. She had her arms stretched forward casting a barrier to protect the marketplace. As the fire died down the dust exposed 3 men running down the road. They were difficult to see because of their sand-colored uniforms. Suddenly a blue and yellow flash came down from one of the roofs and the next second the men were lying on the ground. Standing right in the middle was a girl with long blonde hair and a white porcelain mask, which looked like a wolf. As she walked to the woman with the blue hair, Yo couldn't help but stare at her small but female body. She wore dark blue pants as well, but skin-tight. They were put into long boots. Her shirt was quite long and wrapped her torso tightly as well, but the sleeves were wide and somehow left her upper arms bare, where you could spot a tattoo on the right side. The other woman bowed her head as the blonde moved past her. I am Akami, Konoha Anbu. Hereby I inform you that the village is attacked and is to be evacuated. Please leave towards the Kazakage Tower instantly. Don't go home to collect any belongings. Please obey the orders of the shinobi leading the evacuation. A lot of people started to panic but they left more or less in order. Naruto sighed. This is so difficult. You did great nevertheless. Thanks, we should head to the outer walls. You go first, I'll stay and make sure the villagers leave safely. Yuzuka nodded and jumped onto a house and moved forward quickly. Naruto tightened the belt for her sword again. She touched the tattoo and closed her eyes for a second. Then she stretched her arms and shoulders, liking the way the soft fabric adjusted itself to her skin. She enjoyed her new outfit, it was more comfortable and Yuzuka thought it very pretty. The blonde sighed again and pushed her hair back. It wasn't in a ponytail, there hadn't been time for that. Anbu-san? Naruto turned around and looked at a woman, carrying a little girl in her arms. Yes? What's wrong? Do you need medical treatment? She asked. My name is Ito. I thank you for protecting our village. You know, there are a lot of people that think, we'd be better without you, but I support an alliance between our villages. You saved my daughter. You are good people. I thank you, and when this is over, I'll do anything to build a strong bond. The woman had a determined look in her eyes that Naruto admired. Thank you, Ito-san. I appreciate that. I'll do anything possible to protect Suna. They shared a second in silence. You should leave now, it'll get dangerous soon. Thank you. Okami-san. The woman ran after the crowd, leaving Naruto in the road. Finally, after the market became empty, Naruto took off, too. She was one of the fastest ANBU, so caught up to Yuzuka pretty fast. Down on the road she saw Nakomo and Niji running. She waved them and they came up to the roofs. Getting in lane right away, they were running in a V formation with Naruto at the head. Taicho. Niji said to greet her. Tell me what you see, Eagle. He paused and they knew he was focusing on his Kekiagenkai. We don't have any enemies in the houses in this area, but there are 5 heading this way. They don't know we're here yet. Great. Naruto mumbled. She thought for a while. I want them out, but it would slow us down. How strong do you think they are? Yuzuka asked Niji. Their chakra levels aren't that high and they aren't moving that fast. High Chunin level. Everyone waited for their captain to make a decision. Alright, we'll split. Mouse and Eagle will follow me to the closest gate. Tiger, I trust you to catch up as soon as you're ready. All of them nodded, though they didn't feel good, leaving one person behind. While Nakomo slowed down, Naruto's group headed left for the south gate. Eagle, how's the situation? We're almost where the enemy broke through. They blew up the wall and entered the village. Right now all of them are fighting, but if nothing happens soon, they'll spread. How are the Sunanin doing? Do they need our support or should we help elsewhere? They need us. It looks bad. Fine. I need a genjutsu to stop everyone for a few seconds, Mouse. Can you do that? The blue-haired woman nodded. Eagle, you know what to do. They picked up their speed and soon the noises of fighting could be heard. The ANBU captain saw the problem right away. It wasn't that the enemy was extraordinarily strong or talented, they just had one advantage against the Suna shinobi. They were perfect team workers. They went 2 or more against 1 and succeeded fast. Naruto sighed, disappointed that the Sand shinobi were mistrusting each other. It was easy to see that on the surface everything seemed alright, but the late troubles had shaken them up. Mouse, get the justice started. She said and got ready. A few seconds later she and Niji attacked. It was some kind of dancing, Naruto thought as she swirled trough the lines with lightning speed. Her feet found always the right places and she turned swinging her sword, leaving a bloody trace. Somehow it was bitter, that killing so many people was that easy. In mere seconds Naruto saw brave men falling by her hand. But that was what an ANBU was. A killer. She had struggled with that fate very often and thought about quitting and just being a normal jounin. But then she returned to the HQ after a mission and she knew this was where she belonged, her home. There were her family and friends and she was accepted. Why should she give that up? Someone had to do the job either way and she could try to do it the most human way possible. Silent and clean. She wasn't one to shed unnecessary blood or be too cruel to her victim. She was the perfect ANBU after all. When Nakomo caught up, Niji and she had finished the job. Tiger, report. She said, not even sweating or breathing hard. 6 enemies, strong team players, but not too experienced. Low Junin level. Solved the problem. Naruto looked at her team, thinking about her next step. Yuzuka, your chakra level? She asked. The blue-haired woman shook her head. I'm fine. Don't worry. I said, chakra level. Spit it out and stop avoiding my question. I'm about 40 to 50%. You go to the inner circles and help with the evacuation for some time. Tiger, please close the hole in the wall with an earth jutsu. We can't afford any weak points here. He started doing as SE said and she turned to Niji. It'll be best if I head over to the north gate. They have trouble there. He insisted and she nodded. Go, and be careful. You as well. He nodded towards Nakomo and took off. I'm disappointed. Naruto said, directed towards the Sand Shinobi, who were still startled, because of the fast and efficient action of the Konoha ANBU. Even when your village, your family, and friends are on the line, you stick at being stupid. How do you think you will defend those ninja, without trusting the others? Don't tell me that a small disagreement should cost that much. She shook her head, sending the golden locks flying. Ashaming. Some actually looked embarrassed, some enraged. She sighed. Suddenly a few shuriken came flying at her. She dodged easily and looked for the origin of the attack. The woman on the top of a roof was quickly spotted. She looked strong, but Naruto was confident that herself and Nakomo were enough to beat her, when an explosion ripped through the air. Nakomo, you have to go to the east gate. I'll handle things here. He looked at her, and even though he was wearing the mask, the hesitation was clearly visible. He didn't want to leave her alone with an unknown enemy. He shot the woman an estimating look. And he was gone. He trusted her, she knew. Anyways, the woman was still there, grinning with an evil confidence. You think you can beat me alone? You won't even be able to catch me. She sneered and started to run. To realize this was a trap was easy, Naruto knew in an instant, but decided she had no choice but to follow the shinobi. Something in the back of her head screamed at her to stop and focus on the other enemies and leave this one alone. Why do I always end up with the real problems, she thought, when she blocked a dotonjutsu while running. Soon they jumped over the walls, and Naruto should have known better than to go after the dirty blonde kunoichi. Nevertheless, she just did it and followed her out into the desert, the midday sun piercing her skin. Suddenly they stopped when the village was almost out of view. The woman looked her straight into the eyes and then transformed into sand. A clone? Naruto said out loud. She was just getting you here. She froze, and the blood in her veins was moving way too slowly, while her heart was in the grip of an ice-cold hand. Gaara. It wasn't a question but a statement. She didn't need to turn around, she recognized his voice instantly, but nevertheless she spun around to glare at him. She was almost surprised to see him nevertheless, because the fact that he obviously had something to do with the attack was something she couldn't really believe. But there he stood, his robes waving weakly in the wind and his smile evilly happy. Now let's settle this. His words yanked her out of her thoughts. So you really betrayed your village? Her voice was quiet, almost inaudible. She somehow hoped he would deny, but instead of that, sand came flying towards her. She dodged and jumped back a bit. There is nothing I could betray. They never saw me as a part of the village, so why should I bother? He screamed the answer to her previous question. All I want is you. And then she really got it. There weren't any feelings directed towards the village anymore, not even hate. Just emptiness. He looked for proof, and that wasn't something he could find there, so he searched elsewhere. She was strong and annoyed him, so to say the perfect target. He wouldn't return to Suna after that, she knew. A sand shuriken graced her upper arm and she looked up. Her deep blue eyes were filled with sadness and pity. But behind that was a silent determination, which made him hope for a good show. I won't surrender, she just said. Her will to pull him out of the darkness increased, and she joined the fight, now serious. Her first weapon was the taijutsu only. She tested him out and tried to hit him, but the sand could easily keep up with her speed. Although she knew about the seriousness of the situation, that if she lost, there'd be another dangerous missing nin, she deep inside yearned for a challenge. Since she was a very strong shinobi, she went on high-classified missions, but the Hokage was still careful to avoid an encounter with the Akatsuki or another dangerous group whose name was still a dark secret. Because of that, she was anxious to try out some of her skills, to overcome her own constraints. She aimed for him with new aggression and used her trademark, the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. With ease she avoided the strikes and countered with various futon jutsu. The fight heated up with every minute and Naruto felt Kyuubi getting impatient. The great fox paced around in its cage and threw itself against the bars. It did this every time she had a serious fight, but the fact that the opponent was carrying a Biju himself made Kyuubi scream. Shikaku was not someone who should even try to fight him. Naruto felt its urge to get out and show the other demon its place, but this time she wouldn't listen. I can hear the demon scream inside you. Do you think you do not need it? Why are you holding back? Gaara shouted as he finally got to hit her and sent Naruto flying back a few yards. Because it's me, who is fighting you, not him. She got up and started a strong combination of futon jutsu. If only there would be a source of water, she thought. Her ability for earth and lightning jutsu was very unincisive. And a katan wouldn't help right now. She had to win by mere strength. And that was difficult. Every time she tried a trick, he caught up and stroked back. Both worked hard, but none gave in. To both of them this fight meant everything. Neji watched Sakura as she treated his injured leg. A kunai had cut through his flesh in the late noon, when he had been already tired. It wasn't very deep but enough to stop him from walking around. The fighting already ended 2 or so hours ago, but because a few shinobi had suffered much more serious injuries, Neji had waited till now. He looked over to Yuzuka, who stared out of the window in the darkening sky for hours. All the Konohanin had gathered in the small lounge after the enemy had retreated, except one, Naruto. Suna finally won after only a few hours. The attack had been planned too hasty, so the group of desert nomads couldn't deliver a fatal blow, even though they succeeded in killing their strongest enemy, the Kazekage. He died in monstrous fight, about which the academy students would read in their school books later. His opponent had been an S-class Nuke-nin, who seemed to be the ace up in the sleeve of the attackers. Both died, but the Kazekage could prevent further damage to his village. The details of the fight were still unknown to the public, but Neji saw another problem. Now that the Kage was gone, the Konoha ninja were standing on very slippery ground. The leader had been their strongest defender of the alliance between Konoha and Suna. The council, who ruled the village until the new Kazekage would be chosen, could easily send them home or worse, arrest them. A lot of them saw the shinobi from Leaf as the main cause for the attack and wanted them gone and punished. But although he thought about that, most of his worry was there because of Naruto's absence. Nakomo told him earlier that the woman Naruto went after was exactly the same one he fought maybe an hour later at the East Gate. This left only 2 options: 1, Naruto and her were separated and never fought against each other, or 2, this woman won and Naruto was somewhere out in the desert maybe needing help. The fear that something had happened to his girl was making the sitting and waiting almost unbearable. Yuzuka obviously seemed to have the same thoughts. She didn't say a word since message spread that the blonde captain was nowhere to be found. She was also enraged because the council told them not to go out before the situation about their future had cleared and all of them had suffered at least chakra exhaustion or minor injuries. Sakura worked hard to cope with the work, but she wasn't an experienced medic nin and her knowledge and her skills weren't enough to solve all of their problems. All of them were violently pulled out of their thoughts when someone knocked on the door. Sakura got up, finished with healing Niji's leg and opened up. She was surprised when Gaara's siblings Temari and Kankuro were standing outside. "How can I help you?" the pink-haired Kunoichi asked. "Can we come in?" Temari looked a bit uneasy. "Sure." As soon as the door was closed behind them she bowed. "I am very sorry to disturb you right now, all of you must be very tired, but actually we are searching for someone," she said. "Great to see, we're not the only ones with this problem." The sarcasm in Sasuke's voice was obvious. He was pissed that Suna wasn't helping them to look for Naruto. "You do?" Kankuro looked around in the room. "The blonde one is gone?" "Yes, however." Neji used his experience from his life in the Hyuga clan to keep a polite tone. "Who is missing? How can we help you?" The answer rang all the alarm bells in his head. It's our brother, Gaara. We haven't seen him since this morning, when he jumped towards the outer walls just before the attack. Kakashi inhaled deeply, getting the same dark idea as Neji. Temari got the hint. You don't think he was working with the nomads? She asked. No. Neji shook his head. I talked with Naruto about him a lot, and I suppose he has no interest in the fight between two villages or the commercial interests of a few rebels. He has another goal. Proving he is alive. And to do that he wants to win against strong opponents. Someone like. He paused, not wanting to admit that his captain probably was in the hands of someone like him. Someone like Naruto. Kakashi finished and sighed desperately. What if he used the opportunity to fight her? He couldn't estimate what would happen if the two Jinchuriki collided in a fight. We have to go. It was Yuzuka who spoke now, after long silence. We can't. At first we aren't allowed to leave, and second, is anyone fit enough to go? Nakomo looked miserable. We have to leave it to her. The following silence lasted for minutes. She would go. Yuzuka said, and everyone looked up. Naruto would go, despite her injuries, exhaustion, or any rule, if one of us was in danger. Don't you think? All of them looked down, they knew she was right. I'll sneak out and find her. If she really had an encounter with Gaara, she may need our help. Yuzuka got up and walked towards the door, when someone grabbed her arm. It was Sakura. Don't you dare to stop me, Pinky. Yuzuka snapped. I just thought she might need medical treatment. The girl said with a determined look in her eyes. Sasuke stepped up behind her and nodded. I'll go as well. You'll need someone who knows the desert. I'll come with you to find my brother. Temari said and lightly squeezed Kankuro's shoulder. You'll cover for me, right? He nodded. I'd go as well, if my leg wouldn't be hurting. Please bring her back home. Niji's voice was very quiet. All right, let's go. Yuzuka said, and the four took off. The hours started to pass and Naruto noticed that the day was almost ending again. She had lost any sense for time. 1 minute she had the feeling it was only minutes away that she rescued the small girl, and then it seemed like she was fighting for days. Her muscles ached and in her head was nothing left but strike, dodge, block, and strike again. Gaara must have become tired as well. He lost patience. That was when he transformed. At first slowly, but then fast. His voice became shrill and his movements hectic and unpredictable. He landed blast after blast, and finally incredibly much of the sand started to collect around him. Only seconds later Naruto looked up at Shikaku. The sand now attacked her from all sides. Time to end this. He screamed. She looked up at him and shook her head. I won't let you. She channeled chakra to her feet and took out her sword. She was sure she wouldn't last long. The strength he drew from the demon was too much to put up a long fight. If she can't defend him in the next 15 minutes, she would definitely lose. Jumping and spinning, she slowly climbed up the giant sand sculpture, cutting her way free with her sword. She still didn't use Kyuubi, she wanted to win with her own strength. Finally she stood in front of him, panting and bleeding. The sweat ran down her back, it was hot behind her ANBU mask and she felt her vision getting blurry. And she wondered what she should do. What do you say when you stand in front of your soulmate, who wants to kill you and hurt you badly? Who means more to you than you want to accept? And who you shouldn't defend? What is it you want? His fingers reached up to his forehead and touched the skin where the word that some people would die for. But that was meaningless to him was carved in his skin. I want you dead. He shouted, driven by the demon's anger. She felt surprisingly calm about that statement, ignored the hateful tone. She slowly walked towards him, the sand wasn't moving anymore. Gaara wasn't able to do something. She soon was just a few meters away. Suddenly he realized what he was doing. Shaking his head violently, he recovered from his trance-like state. He collected sand in his hand and created a hard shuriken. He threw it, aiming for her head. It went incredibly fast, and when Naruto saw it, she knew she wouldn't be able to dodge. It crashed against her mask at her forehead. At first there was a moment of breathless silence, then a crack ran through the white porcelain and then it burst in every direction. Gaara knew she must have channeled chakra into the mask to protect her face. He watched the white material fly, exposing her beautiful face. He noticed it had already become dark. This night was without any clouds, the stars were sparkling freely in the black-blue sky. His thoughts slowed, he could just stand there and look at her. Her eyes were still closed from when the mask had burst and there was no movement in her features, just a peaceful smile lingered on her lips. Her hair moved in the silent wind, framing her pale face. She was absolutely breathtaking that second. And then she opened her eyes, and in those deep blue oceans he could see the stars. They were full of forgiveness. "What is it you want?" she asked again, this time there was no sadness in her clear voice. It was soft and melodic, despite her exhaustion. The time seemed to freeze and there was no sound, but her angelic voice reaching his ears. It rushed through his brain and successfully fought the metallic screams the demon made. The sand monster beneath them vanished and the sand under their feet was the natural one of the desert. No more getting power from the demon. He fell to his knees, weak and exhausted, his hand uselessly hanging at his sides. She walked towards him again and knelt down in front of him. He eyed her carefully, slightly disturbed by what she already did to him. "Tell me." She referred to her earlier question. And to his own surprise a single tear ran down from his left eye, colored silver by the moonlight. It washed away the thin layer of sand covering his skin, the ultimate defense. Without really knowing it, he let the other sand drop as well, leaving him bare to her. "I don't want to be alone anymore." His answer was quiet and unsure, but full of the truth she had searched for. "I want a family, friends." Carefully and very slowly she lifted a hand and touched his cheek. "I told you there isn't a too late." Then she put her arms in around him. She almost thought her heart was bursting when he returned the embrace. Gaara and Naruto were lying next to each other in the still warm sand far away from the village. Their fight had taken them further and further away in the opposite direction. Both were exhausted, physically and mentally. While they had fought, they hadn't noticed how they had been only working by willpower. They didn't have any chakra left and couldn't move an inch. Gaara was having a hard time organizing his thoughts. Those new feelings were overwhelming. The girl next to him changed so much the last few days, and he didn't know if he could handle any of it. "Gaara, are you sleeping?" he heard her soft voice asking. "I never sleep, it's because of the demon." He heard the rustling sound as she moved her arm. His eyes went wide when he felt very small, fragile fingers grab his hand. "You can rest now, I'll watch." And he believed her. Suddenly he felt very tired, and closing his eyes and drifting to sleep was somehow easy. To her it was not. While the peace of a long-awaited night fetched him, Naruto lied wide awake and stared at the stars. Why was her heart pounding that hard, when they were so close earlier, and that he returned the embrace made her hope for? For what exactly? That she reached for his hand wasn't just something to comfort him, she needed to be close to him. She never had this before. She wasn't. She read about this stuff, and if anyone else had told her the things she was thinking right now, she would have told him or her, "You are in love." But she was different. She wasn't searching for love, her friends were enough. Also, she thought that she wasn't able to love someone unconditionally. In the past years she had worked hard to become who she was today, and what she heard about love was giving her the idea that loving someone meant to give up yourself. That was a price she refused to pay. She liked Gaara, that she admitted. Maybe her odd reaction was just because of the fight and stuff earlier. And who could blame her for not wanting to be alone in the nightly desert? Confused, she let go of his hand and tried to stop the shiver that ran up her arm and down her spine. It was because of the cold, she decided. Naruto stayed awake until morning, to watch over both of them. She never noticed the pure beauty of a sunrise. The stars were still visible as the first light colored the horizon in soft pastel pink and orange. As the moon faded away, she remembered the silver shimmer everything seemed to have had this night. The crimson hair of Gaara was much more darker and her own was less golden. In his turquoise eyes the tears sparkled like diamonds, and she had to admit he was very handsome. The black lines around his eyes just added to his mysterious looks. His skin had been so incredibly soft, as if nothing had ever touched it, which she presumed was maybe even true. She almost felt sad that they would soon be rested enough to return to the village. In the same second she scolded herself. That was just ridiculous. She sat up and took a look around. Sand until the horizon, how should they find Sunagakure this way? Well, she just had to hope the sun would be helpful. Then she noticed a group of 4 people approaching and her muscles tensed. She was in no condition to defend herself, even if those weren't shinobi. A bunch of genin could knock her out at the moment. She didn't like the thought, as she was one of the most promising ANBU. Her glance fell on Gaara's sleeping form. Having the Kazakage's son with her could maybe be helpful. Or there were Sunanin coming and would kill her for hurting him. She shook her head. No, they would more likely praise her. To her relief, she saw that one of the shinobi had pink hair and another one blue. She relaxed immediately. Now she was safe. The Konohanin except Naruto were standing at the main gate of Suna. It was early in the morning and almost no one was up yet. Only 2 figures were there to see them of. We are sorry that you had to leave this fast, Temari said, looking to the ground uneasily. It's fine, a lot of things happened. Kakashi smiled with his one eye. Indeed. There was a long silence. They waited for the arrival of Naruto to leave the desert. As predicted, Suna's council told them to go back home, but they were telling them that in a friendly way. Right now Suna was disturbed and could not guarantee for safety. They needed time to settle, but there would be a new alliance formed as soon as they had elected a new Kage. Of course the shinobi from Leaf offered their support if they needed help with rebuilding the village. Maybe they would think about it. Naruto walked next to Gaara through the gap in the wall. Her feet seemed pretty heavy somehow, but she walked on steadily. The light at the end was faint, the sun was still low, so there was almost no light in the tunnel. She looked at the redhead next to her and sighed inwardly. He seemed completely untouched, his eyes calm and relaxed. She knew it was good that her looked that way. From Temari she heard he never looked that calm in his life, only unstable and unpredictable. The end came closer and her fox eyes could see the silhouettes of her team. They were almost there. She stopped suddenly. He continued to walk 2 steps when he noticed Naruto wasn't next to him anymore. He turned to face her and was surprised to see her confused and unsure. Naruto-san, what is it? He asked politely. Since she helped him in the desert, he tried to make up for his behavior from before. The stormy blue darkened and for a minute her gaze went to nowhere. When she returned, her eyes seemed strong and confident. Her face had a peaceful expression. Gaara, there's something I want to give to you. The sudden swing of her mood left him without a clue what to do, but he nodded. It seemed important to her. She pulled something out of her pocket. She held a piece of snow-white porcelain. Some blue and gray color was still there, and through a small hole a dark blue ribbon was tied onto it. Is that a part of you mask? He asked. Yes, it is. The one you broke that night. It's a symbol for me fighting the demon. Always remember that. She smiled softly and he took it. If you ever struggle, it will help you to recall the wish you have. I am your friend Gaara. Let this shard help you to never forget that. I'll treasure it, thank you. They looked in each other's eyes for a minute. Then she turned to walk towards the village's exit, leaving him watching her. Outside she joined the team and ordered them into a traveling formation, her at the front. Her hand wandered into her pocket and her fingertips felt the sharp edges of the shard inside her pocket. I hope you'll realize I have the matching one to yours, Gaara, she thought, casting a look inside the darkness. She greeted Temari and Kankura one last time and then turned to the endless ocean of sand, heading towards Konoha. We will meet again, Sabaku no Gaara. The end to this story.